place. And perfect delivery really means getting it to the right location with the right tech who has the right skills, parts, and knowledge to allow them to fix and address the problem the first time. Second, field service organizations are transitioning away from cost centers to become more profit centers that are focused on driving incremental revenue growth. And so ServiceMax really gives you the tools to help identify additional sales opportunities while technicians are out in the field and maximize your opportunity to encourage and drive revenue growth through field service technicians. And then lastly, you're going to be able to delight your customers with better technology, especially driven by our mobile platform, which I'll talk a little bit about as well as we go forward through the presentation today.
And so PTC is really a company that's all about providing next-generation technology platforms, as well as has a long history and is still continuing to provide some really strong enterprise applications. And it's really all about really changing how our customers create, connect, analyze, operate, and finally service their smart and connected products. So you know, it's really all about changing how we're going to be dealing with products in the future. Next slide, please. So we're a company that is headquartered in Needham, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. About 6,000 employees worldwide. We've really made some really interesting advances over the last year, 18 months, in terms of really providing the technology platforms for the smart connected devices that we have out there. Over the last 12 to 18 months, we've acquired a couple of major IoT players, both ThingWorx and Exceeda, and have also made some interesting advances in predictive and proactive analytics. So in addition to providing the IoT platform, we're also a leading provider of enterprise applications in terms of creating, operating, and servicing assets. So it's really all focused around products, and now, you know, enhanced with the connected products. Like I said, we're really a market-leading IoT platform vendor. Have a big customer base there. Have a lot of really, really interesting things going on that we're going to share with you today in terms of connected products.
And actually, one of the things that's most exciting that we see about this partnership is the opportunity to accelerate the path to connected service with our joint customers. And you can see here a sampling of some of those customers today that are using both ServiceMax and PTC already. And so there's this real synergy between our companies that we're really optimistic about in terms of seeing what's about to take shape and what we're talking about today in terms of this whole concept of smart connected products and the ability to really help our customers and these companies take this action over the next year or two to really start to accelerate this vision of more proactive and predictive service. So let's now kind of take a step back and talk about this service landscape. Ultimately, one of the things that analysts are talking about and that we're talking about, you know, ServiceMax and PTC both over the last few months have had a number of conferences where this topic of conversation has really risen to the top level in terms of visibility, is this concept of rethinking the entire service model because the service landscape is evolving. Basically, the model that we have today is shifting, and the future is that it's probably not going to last forever where we're selling a product and ultimately just selling service on top of that product. Service is transitioning to be the product that your company sells, and you may have heard this called servitization in the past. Today we're going to refer to it more as kind of an outcome-based model, but the actual products will need to be good, and product differentiation will go away, and service is going to be that ultimate differentiator. Because ultimately, customers are just going to want to guarantee that you'll provide them with an outcome, meaning a level of performance or what you were promising is going to be delivered. And so really, one of the things that I think is interesting when you start to read more about this whole concept of product as a service is that this is going to continue the shift of viewing customers more as partners, especially in a B2B setting. And so I think in the world we operate, customer-centric world we operate in today, where customers already have high expectations, whether they're consumers or whether they're business-to-business customers, those expectations are only going to continue to get higher as what you're selling them is effectively a promise that the project is going to operate or, be delivered in a certain way. And so that's going to create many opportunities, with a world of connected products that are talking to each other, the information that you're going to have to evolve your service offerings as part of that, and then again, continuing to exceed and delight customers and having those expectations continue to be met. So at ServiceMax, one of the things we're doing is starting to look at this, what is this operating system of this new service economy and how can our technology really fit into it? And so this is a little diagram that we've created to help us look at our solution. And you'll notice that the orange circles in the center of the diagram that list processes, products, people, and promises is really how we look at our solution through the lens of our customers, the people that are using ServiceMax field service software. So talking specifically about our customers' processes, their field service workflows, how we're able to help them set those up in a configurable way that can be adapted as their business needs change over time. Also, their people, so field service engineers or technicians, and their need to collaborate and get information from those folks at their company who have that tribal knowledge, or be able to help them troubleshoot right on the spot at a field service site. They're also, in terms of scheduling, making sure that you're being able to dispatch the right people with the right skills, certifications, and availability when you need to at the right customers for the right parts. And then also products. And this is obviously the huge tie-in to the whole PTC conversation that we're having today about smart connected products, is manufacturers especially are going to need to kind of rethink how their products are being manufactured with intelligence in them. And then with the ability to enable these smart connected devices, then that better information is going to flow into ServiceMax and enable the field service software to become more intelligent and inform the technician, and we'll talk a lot more about that today. And then finally, promises. And in ServiceMax, one of the things that really differentiates our product is this concept of auto entitlements and being able to ensure that when you're delivering field service, that the contracts that you're creating for your customers and the associated SLAs are established. And as you evolve to an outcomes-based model, that's going to continue to change. And so those SLAs can be defined, new SLAs can be created, and those entitlements can come into play to make sure that you're delivering on the promise or outcome that you've sold to that particular customer. On the left-hand side of the diagram, you can see that mobile is really the vehicle that's going to give visibility and power to that field technician. And today we have a really robust suite of field service apps called Field Ready mobile apps for iOS, Android, and other devices that will enable the technician to deliver on this promise. And again, this whole concept is going to be enabled by the Internet of Things, and we'll talk a lot more about that today. So this picture of the new service economy is really something that we think of in 3 stages. And right now we're in this stage of modern field service where most businesses are focused on enterprise mobility and cloud and figuring out how they're going to enable those for their businesses. They're probably, you may already be in the stream of figuring that out or just starting to introduce the concept of mobile to your workforce, but regardless, that's kind of where we are today. Next, we're talking about this concept of elevating field service and the importance of it, primarily because everybody's talking about IoT as one of the next major waves of innovation with technology, and field service is one of the top use cases for that. So that's just really exciting when you think about it because it elevates the whole concept of field service. And this phase of the service economy evolution is ultimately going to be defined by connected and predictive service that's going to help drive growth. You're going to be able to create new service offerings and just provide more information both to your own service organization and to your customers to help drive that growth. And then finally, service as the product, defined by things like this outcome-based model where you're going to actually start to look at how you're selling service, repackaging your offerings, and ultimately making a large transformation in your service delivery.
Yeah, and so really to that point, service is going through a big transformation, which ultimately it's going to end up in more of the sale of outcome versus the sale of product, like we've been talking about. And we really see that there's a continuum along that line. And really, as you move kind of from that left-hand side to the right-hand side, the reality is that manufacturer providing that outcome-based service model is taking a big risk. They're taking on all the risk of making sure that their products that the assets are constantly up and running, and because they're providing that outcome-based model. And so they really need a way to make sure that risk is an acceptable risk. And truly by having the devices connected and by being able to interact with those connected devices and understand how they're being used and start to predict when they need service is really a way that manufacturers can move to this right-hand side and can take the risk that they ultimately need to take to be able to sell the outcome. So we have a number of market forces that we see that are really driving this service transformation change. And we've grouped these into a few different categories: technology, the behavioral, cultural changes, and the business model. And certainly we've seen a lot of real forces in technology. Companies are much more accepting and moving more towards cloud-based solutions. Speed and performance is of utmost importance. Big emphasis, especially in the field service space, on mobile and enabling those field technicians to be able to communicate and get all of the information they need. And then certainly a big topic for today is both IoT, Internet of Things, as well as the predictive analytics. What do you do with all of this great information once you get it? There's also a number of cultural changes that are going on. We're seeing a real demographic shift in technicians. So we certainly have kind of that group of aging technicians, but we're also starting to see a bubble on the other end of much newer technicians. And kind of this newer generation, really is much more capable and willing to adopt new technology, very different attention span, very different ways of communicating. Social is a big part of communication there. So really seeing some changes there. And then, like we've been talking about, there's some big market forces behind the business models, being able to offer the proactive and predictive service, being able to provide managed services, and really all kind of centered around service being that differentiator that allows you to deliver that outcome-based service model. So these are really a lot of the market forces that we see that are affecting this change. And so when you look at IoT, we see that IoT is really addressing at least opportunities for two of the key service models. So we have a direct service model, which is more of the traditional reactive service model. In this case, the customer generally is the first one to know that there's a problem and has to report the issue and make it incomplete or provide incomplete information about the problem, which results in a really expensive dispatch and diagnose response by the manufacturers. And this is really that direct service model where the manufacturer is directly providing service for the asset. And so as we move to a more connected model, to the IoT model, we can offer much more proactive service. And so in this case, the customer is not the first to know. The asset is the first to know and informs the manufacturer proactively that there's a problem. You know, hopefully the customer is going to be the last to know. We can really change the cost of diagnose and dispatch because we have such better information and more complete information about exactly what's going on with that asset. So it really allows those manufacturers to drive down the cost of that service. So if you go to the next slide, please. In addition to the direct service model, we also have an indirect service model. There you go, the dealer-distributor model, perfect. And so this is where, you know, the manufacturer, the manufacturer's assets are really managed by a dealer, so an interim dealer. And again, in the traditional model, the customer is still the first to know. And they report the issue to the dealer or maybe some third-party service provider who ultimately performs the service. And it really leaves the manufacturer largely out of the loop. So they don't have very good visibility to how the asset is being used and how the asset is being serviced. And so again, IoT is really going to change this model where the manufacturer is more going to be the one that's enabled to initiate this service. So again, the asset is the first to know that there's a problem and can report it directly to the manufacturer. And then the manufacturer can really direct the service response through the dealer. And more importantly, that manufacturer has a much better understanding of how the asset is actually being used in the field, potentially leading to engineering changes to more match the way that asset is being used, and has control and knowledge of how that asset is being serviced, and has a lot more control there. So, you know, so we really think that IoT is really going to change these two key service models that we have. So now we're going to talk about some of the different use cases, and we're going to get into a little bit of detail about some of the different things that you can do with connected service, and then I'll be showing you a demonstration of how we've already enabled a number of these between the ServiceMax and PTC partnership. So these are, and I'm just going to talk about these briefly now because we've got a bit more detail, but it's going to be around machine-initiated service orders. So we can automate the service orders based on a report from the asset. We can automate diagnostics so that we better know how to perform the service and what service needs to be performed. We can enable remote service so that we can hopefully avoid a truck roll and fix the problem remotely. We can, very importantly, provide repair procedures in the right context of that asset so that technicians can spend their time doing the fixes and not spend their time digging through manuals and procedures to figure out what it is that they need to do. And then finally, and probably one of the most exciting parts of it, is being able to provide not only the proactive service, but really being able to analyze a lot of the connected machine data and start to provide predictive service. So the first one that we'll see in the demo is really all around what we call the machine-initiated service request. And we'll see that we have devices, connected devices that are connected to a device cloud. The PTC ThingWorx Converge platform will monitor those connected devices and produce alerts upon different exception conditions, where it's pretty easy for that end consumer to manage and define what is an exception condition. And then finally, these exceptions get interpreted and result in the creation of a service request in ServiceMax, which is really the service execution system that you'll see that's part of this, that's really becoming part of this larger service lifecycle management portfolio from PTC. So the next use case that we'll see in the demo is all around connected diagnostics. How can we automate the issue, the diagnosis of the problem and the response? So, you know, this really enables better self-service, potentially, again, allows you to very quickly diagnose and understand, is this a problem that can be fixed remotely? Is this a problem that we need to dispatch a technician for? So a little bit different than a knowledge base, truly performing diagnostics against the product and understanding, based on a number of different symptoms, what's the most likely solution to this issue. So the next use case that we'll see is around remote access. So now that we've initiated a service request and automated some diagnosis, we can actually use these, because these devices are connected, it's not just a one-way connection where those devices provide us information. We can also do some really interesting things like remoting into the machine to potentially, you know, change configuration or restart a machine to perform some of that service remotely. We can perform file transfers to and from the machine. We can manage software revision levels. So again, that remote access, you know, is all about being able to you've got these connected devices, you've spent time and money to get them connected. Let's use that to be able to fix them via that connectivity when possible too. So also it's very important to be able to provide repair procedures in the context of the asset and the issue that has occurred. So we'll see where we can very quickly and efficiently provide the technicians, when they need it, the very specific repair procedures. And, you know, in fact, these repair procedures, as we'll see, can actually pull back from the original engineering diagrams and specifications so that the technician has a very, very clear and concise understanding of how to perform the repairs. So this is just kind of an overview of the demo that we're going to see. Again, it's going to encompass all of these different use cases that we've talked about. Machine indicates an issue, ThingWorx Converge determines that that's a problem, creates a service request within ServiceMax, provides the diagnostics, the real-time access to machine information, can create a work order, dispatch that out to the technician, and then provide the technician all those same really, really good tools around diagnostics, reviewing the related docs. And very importantly, to really close the loop, once that technician completes the repair and sign off, that information comes full circle so that engineering can understand very well what service has been performed, how the asset is performing, and use that information to improve designs in the future. So this breadth of use cases that we're talking about it really speaks to the service lifecycle management portfolio that PTC is really enabling here. And we really think about this in three very different and very important value streams. So the bookends are kind of around the service information, being able to very efficiently create, deliver, and advise service information. So this is all around being able to provide the repair procedures, to serve those up to an end user. and to be able to perform really strong diagnostics against the asset. At the other end of the bookends on the right, we really see the enabling the service parts revenue optimization. And so this is all around planning your spare parts to make sure that you have the right parts in the right places. Being able to properly and most effectively price your assets. And then providing that network management, that visibility over your extended network of where your inventory and orders are, and in fact orchestrating a lot of those orders across a pretty complex landscape. And so and then in the middle we have the service event management and execution. And that's really where PTC is partnering with ServiceMax. And, you know, ServiceMax really is that service event execution engine that provides all of the field service management. And so then these are all tied together. These are all tied together through the ThingWorx Converge platform. So this is really the platform that is used to connect all of the devices, to perform the remote monitoring, and really acts as an integration hub across these three value streams. And then also it's also enhanced with a very recent acquisition again for PTC of ColdLight. ColdLight is a really interesting technology that provides the machine learning and the predictive analytics. Okay, so now we're going to switch over and I'm going to show you the demonstration. This is a video that we're seeing, but it's actually built on real software, and we'll see how we've actually very quickly integrated together the PTC and ServiceMax products. So we see in the background here, we can see the ServiceMax interface, and then over on the right we have a ThingWorx dashboard. So this is really a dashboard that's providing us some basic information and a view into a piece of equipment, in this case an MRI machine. And we can see we're monitoring a number of different aspects, temperature, bed vibration, that kind of thing. And so we're really going to focus in for this demo on the bed vibration. So we can see we're monitoring the machine in real time, and we've set a threshold indicated by the red line, where if the vibration goes above that threshold, we know that there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And so we can see we've gone out of range here. And if you look at the ServiceMax interface, we see in the upper left that we've automated the creation of a service alert. This is really that machine-initiated service request. So from here, now that we've created this service alert, a remote technician can very quickly go into ServiceMax to start to resolve this. So we can see that the service alert has been created and pre-populated based on all the information that we know about it. We know which product it is, what the serial number of the product is, but very importantly, we can start to offer remote access, file transfer, managed software versions. Again, from the remote technician can very quickly drill in and see the real-time machine data, so as well as the historical data I'll mention. So in this case, we can see that same bed vibration reading which we were seeing on the other mashup, fully embedded in ServiceMax. And so here we've gone ahead and automated the diagnostics using the Service Knowledge and Diagnostics solution, and we can see that the system was able to narrow it down into 3 possible solutions. And using the guided search, it says, well, if you can answer one more question about what the vibration signature is, I can narrow this down to a single problem. And the good news is we've got the real-time data available right here. We can see that it's a constant vibration signature, update the guided search with that symptom, and we can quickly narrow down the solution into a single solution. So from here, the remote technician can drill in, understand what the solution is, what are the symptoms that led to this solution, as well as the resolution. So we're going to need to dispatch a technician, in this case, to fix it. And we can very quickly see what parts are needed, what skill level is needed, how long the repair is going to take. So at this point, the remote technician has been able to go in, further the diagnostics that were automated, and understands that they need to dispatch out a technician. So they'll use the service flow wizard to create a new work order. This work order is the object which actually is going to get scheduled and dispatched out to the technician. So we can see it's truly as simple as saying create the work order, save it, and it's been automatically scheduled to a technician. And in fact, we can see on the Gantt chart that job has been put on the technician's schedule. So at this point, the remote technician has really done everything they can do. They've narrowed it down to a single solution and dispatched out a technician. So now we're going to take a look at the technician view. So this is the ServiceMax mobile technician application. The technician can drill in and see all of the details of the work that they need to do, what the problem is, when they need to, when they need to be there to fix it, those type of things. Now, where we've supplemented this experience is really with these connected services. So the technician we'll see is going to be able to further the diagnostics, view the repair instructions, and even view the repair specs. So he can drill into the diagnostics, and again, he gets that same solution that the remote technician previously was able to narrow down just to this single solution. And he can drill in and again see all of the important information about the solution. Very importantly, the technician is able to validate whether or not this is the proper solution, which feeds back into the knowledge and diagnostics self-learning aspect so it can continue to provide better and better solutions. And finally, he can see all of the details of what he needs to do to resolve it. But now the technician may also want to pull up, if he's not familiar with the repair, the exact repair instructions. And this is actually pulling back, in this case, from PTC Creo, some of the original engineering diagrams. And then this is being served up through a PTC product called InService, which can deliver content from a number of different sources. Now, the technician can also view the product specifications, and this is actually a new offering from ServiceMax called Product IQ, which deals with the installed base. So we can see a hierarchy on the left that shows us customers, install sites, and then all the assets within that install site. And again, we've supplemented this within Service so that the technician can very quickly drill in and view the exploded BOM of all of the components which make up this part. He may need to add some parts to his cart so that he can ensure that those parts are shipped and available as part of this service request. He can also view additional documentation about the asset, and in fact can view and understand recommendations for perhaps additional service or upsell parts that may be appropriate for this type of repair. So again, we're really excited about this, that we've been very quickly able to integrate the two products and really feel like it adds a lot of value to the whole field service experience.
Thanks, Michael. I just love that demo. It's very exciting. So, as Michael just showed with the demo, we think there are three major business benefits to our roadmap vision for smart connected products for better service. And the first one is you're really going to be able to get more proactive and predictive, as Michael was able to just show you, by automating work orders, defining the scope of the job based on alerts and diagnostics, and providing the relevant information to fix the job right the first time, ultimately driving up your customer satisfaction. It's also going to give you the tool set to create new value-added service offerings. Again, part of that whole picture of the whole new service economy that's evolving, such as better maintenance plans, remote service offerings, new SLA tiers, and a lot more. It's going to be a creative period where I think you can really look at your service offerings and figure out what makes sense for my particular business. And again, the benefit of this is you're going to be able to differentiate yourself in your market, help increase market share, and really hopefully leapfrog your competitors. Finally, the opportunity to test out an outcomes-based business model where service is the product, really enabling you to follow in the footsteps of pioneers like Rolls-Royce with their Power by the Hour model that, in their case, enabled 4 times more revenue from service over the life of an airplane engine than the sales of the engine itself. Again, helping you drive that growth and market leadership. So as we wrap up our discussion today, I wanted to just give you a little bit more information about ServiceMax as part of this overall connected solution. So obviously Michael showed you a little bit of what our software application looks like. It's really a complete end-to-end field service management solution that helps you manage every part of the field service delivery chain, from being able to schedule the right technician, have access to the parts with our new offerings, especially Product IQ, as you saw, through the mobile app, and even being able to get more insight through analytics, help drive collaboration, and much more. And so all of these tools are going to enable you to execute flawless field service by managing every aspect of that field service delivery chain. Our mobile apps, which we call Field Ready Mobile, are kind of the front end of our solution and really a core of our capabilities. And they have really deep offline capabilities to help support the disconnected day. They're specifically designed for field service, taking into consideration things like larger touch zones for technicians who may often have gloves on their hands or just, you know, have larger hands in general. Also creating a more consistent business process to help really meet the needs of your specific organization so that the service organization can define the workflows that the technician will use out in the field. And also really creating device-appropriate functionality so that regardless of whether you're on a tablet or an iPhone, you're going to have the right access to the right level of functionality to be able to do the job well. And ultimately, with ServiceMax, our field-ready mobile apps are focused on configuration, not coding. So if you need to make some changes in how the app is set up, it's actually quite easy to do in our ServiceMax setup module to make those changes and, again, continue to allow your mobile apps to adapt to your business needs. And the result of all of this is enabled our customers to have some really exciting results. This is a customer survey that we run on an annual basis, and we've been able to see that on average our customers have been able to drive large increases in productivity, service revenue, and drive down, you know, things that they want to decrease, like service costs and average time to repair. So, you know, with this whole concept of connected service and evolving the suite, you know, the basic field service management software capabilities are there, where our customers are already seeing great results, and we're so excited for the future of where proactive service is going to take the results of the survey and really just drive them through the roof even higher.
Yeah, and those are, I got to say, those are some really great statistics, and you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing how we even improve upon those with this partnership. I wanted to spend just a minute to talk a little bit about some of the PTC products that you saw in the demo. You heard me talk a little bit about service information previously. It's really composed of 3 different solutions within the PTC SLM landscape: technical information, service parts information, and service knowledge and diagnostics. And so it's really, so service knowledge and diagnostics is all about automating the issue diagnosis, the response. Technical information and service parts information are both about being able to create that structured content, to be able to, you know, manage the assets and manage all of the content that is associated with those assets, and then being able to deliver that content to a number of different platforms. And so this would, you know, and this is going to include not only delivering the PTC Creo content, but, you know, the reality is manufacturers have a lot of already created content, PDFs, that kind of thing. This can also be used to manage and serve those up to the end user. You know, really ends up improving your first-time fix rates, increasing that technician productivity, increasing the equipment uptime and productivity, and ultimately increasing your service profitability. And so then the next side, kind of that bookend on the right side that I was talking about earlier, is really about optimizing the service parts supply chain. being able to, through service parts management, to optimize your global inventory and make sure that you have the right parts in the right place. And by the way, this is only going to get better as we start connecting in products, because if we know exactly how products are really being used versus what we expect, we can plan the spare parts for them so much better. Being able to really set the optimal part prices through our service parts pricing solution, and really being able to understand your service network performance. And this is not just your local service network, but what I would really consider that extended network. So, so maybe not just your sites, but also the partners and the dealers that you work with, and starting to understand inventory balances and manage orders across that very complex landscape. And so again, this is all about improving your part revenue, your profitability, being able to price your parts properly, being able to minimize your inventory levels while still providing your customers fantastic service. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about one of the companies that we're working with that is really starting to make this a reality. So Electa is a really interesting company. Makes some really incredible machinery around providing services and assets for cancer care and management of brain disorders. And so Electa is one of those joint customers that PTC and ServiceMax share. So Electa is running ServiceMax for field service, and also has a number of connected devices through Excedo, which has now been rolled into our ThingWorx platform. And so we're really excited about potentially working with Electa on this new partnership to be able to do all the stuff that we showed you in that demonstration. Start to give them better insight to their connected products. Start to provide enhanced diagnostics so that they know exactly how to perform the repair in the best manner. So again, Electa is a great example of a company that we want to start working with in terms of their IoT, their connected products for smart connected service.
Thanks so much, Michael. It's been a pleasure presenting with you today. That's the end of our formal presentation, and now we'll open it up to any questions.
Yes, so as Melissa mentioned, that concludes the presentation. If you know you cannot remain on, you can go ahead and drop off. Apologies for those beeps. For those that remain on, we're just trying to create a clean Q&A session. So you can submit your questions online using the Q&A chat feature. So go ahead and submit those now, and we'll spend the next 8 to 10 minutes addressing those. If we don't get to all the questions, we'll definitely send you responses to those directly via email.
So it does look like we've got a number of questions. I'll start with the questions that have been submitted through Q&A, and we can kind of jointly work through these. So looks like the first question is around, other than building energy efficiency solutions, Johnson Controls, Siemens, etc., where else has the outcome-based service model been adopted? It seems to me that the adoption of this is really slow, lots of skeptical companies to overcome. And so there certainly are some other industries. Aerospace is one of the primary ones that I think about that has really started to embrace the outcome-based service model. But I do think that the comment's spot on. There's a lot of skeptical companies, and they're skeptical for a good reason. Because when I was talking earlier about the risk that those companies take on in providing an outcome-based service model, the risk is real, and you've got to find a way to mitigate that risk. And connected devices, Internet of Things, is one of the really strong ways to be able to mitigate that. So there are a lot of skeptical companies to overcome, and I think IoT provides a pretty good solution to overcome some of those.
Okay, we are back. Apologies for that. It looks like there was a question about, do PTC and ServiceMax offer the communication link from asset to cloud and cloud to asset?
So, and we definitely do. So so part of PTC ThingWorx as well as Electa provide that connectivity. That ThingWorx Converge platform that I spoke about, that really provides the connections not only to the ThingWorx and the Electa machine clouds, but also to any number of other device clouds. We recognize there's a lot of connected devices. There's lots of ways to connect them, and that's really what that Converge platform a big part of what that Converge platform is all about.
Okay, perfect. Now, there was a question about that there were some release dates in the presentation, and so the question was how much of the solution is available, and I'm sure, Michael, that's been asked of you before, so why don't you?
That's been asked several times of me today, so yes, absolutely. So certainly what we saw in the demonstration is a prototype. PTC and ServiceMax have been working closely together to productize this. I'm actually at the end of a big 3-day workshop that we've had with them. We will have parts of this coming out of the ServiceMax summer release, end of July, and another big chunk of this coming out in the ServiceMax summer service pack release, which is at the end of September. And then certainly more to come from there. But this is, while it's a prototype, it's very, very, very quickly turning into a product, which is very exciting to me. Okay, so another question here, and maybe I think you both will be able to address it. So I'll start with Melissa. You both presenters alluded to the need for ecosystem support for dealers, distributors, and third-party service providers. So just if you could each address how our products support these third parties as separate entities.
Sure. So ServiceMax specifically offers communities as part of our field service management suite, and so you can set up a partner community that will enable you to give your partners access to and visibility into information like work orders and installed products to be able to go out and provide service on behalf of your organization.
Yeah, and in a very similar manner, the PTC solutions, the SLM solutions as well as Converge are very well versed in dealing with these with those external partners, and provide a number of ways for those folks to get access and to be part of that ecosystem while giving them just the pieces that they need to see.
Yep. Okay, great. I think this one is for you also, Michael. Do you run into barriers in regulated industries like medical with HIPAA when connecting assets to the internet?
So there certainly are some challenges in dealing with those industries, and HIPAA plays into this pretty strongly. And that said, you know, it's interesting because medical devices in a lot of ways are a big part of leading the charge for connected devices. So they've built that into their, you know, they've built connectivity into their assets. You'll find that the ThingWorx Converge platform really provides that right level of security. There's a number of security protocols that somebody much smarter than me could rattle off. But it's interesting to me because you know, HIPAA has such big constraints, yet medical devices really in a big way are leading the charge for IoT. So while there's some challenges, it seems to be challenges that we've really effectively overcome.
Okay, perfect. Another one is about the implementation time. So what is the standard implementation time to network into a piece of equipment? And it says, let's use data center UPS systems for an example. I'm not sure, but maybe you could talk about just the time to network into a piece of equipment.
Yeah, so quite honestly, I'm not really sure of the answer to that, of how much time it takes to connect in devices. You know, certainly it depends on kind of that maturity level of the connected device. You know, do we need to go add sensors to the device? Is the device already connected? I will say certainly in working with some of our engineers and implementation teams, you know, for devices that are built to be connected, it's a pretty quick and efficient process to connect those devices. I mean, you're talking weeks, not months.
Right. Okay. So we'll take our last question here, and it has to do with integration. The question is specifically, do you create your own integration layer, or do you embed another commercial offering?
So the integration hub that ThingWorx Converge provides is its own solution. We don't embed another integration layer. It's primarily tuned for integrating, you know, across the PTC and ServiceMax solutions, and very importantly with integrating in those connected devices. So it's not, to be clear, it is not a full integration tool for integrating, you know, multiple systems. You know, it's not a MuleSoft, it's not a WebMethods or any of those tools. It does provide, you know, the integration between our systems. It allows us to expose the services of the systems and the things that we're dealing with via RESTful API. And that said, it's not a full-blown integration layer. When you start integrating in your ERPs and, you know, your multitude of legacy and external systems, you're probably still best off with a real integration layer.
Okay, perfect. Well, we are at the top of the hour. In fact, I have 1 minute over, so I just want to thank those who remained on the line for participating in our Q&A session. If there were any questions that we were unable to address, we will send you answer to those directly. The presentation and the recording will be made available, and we will send that information directly to you as you were attending the session, and may want to share those with colleagues. So I appreciate it, and just want to thank Michael for joining us today, and also to Melissa for the great presentation. Had a lot of good feedback here, and we welcome all of you to join us on a future ServiceMax event. So thanks again, and have a great day.